Hi, hello, and welcome to Life Off Script. I'm your host, Yaz, and I thought I'd take a different approach for this episode. I thought I would kind of move into a different space and come back to London in the next few episodes. But I thought I'd do something in light of International Women's Day and the empowerment that comes with that. I thought I would discuss being single in your 20s. So for me, I wanted to go through 10 things that I personally love about being single, which I think would be very beneficial to anyone that is recently coming out of a relationship or is in the same boat as me, which is that I've been single my whole life and I've never had a relationship. I mean, I'm sure there's so many women out there that are exactly the same as me. Some people see being single as like this temporary state to escape from, like you're just waiting for real life to begin once you've found a partner. Whether you're single by choice, circumstance, or, somewhere in between, there's a lot of freedom and growth that comes with it. So I just wanted to break that down into some of the best parts of being single because it's not just a green room for you to be queued up to get a partner. It's not just that. I feel like some people think of it as like a limbo state to be in, and it's really not, especially because there are so many things you can learn as a single person and you can enjoy that you won't get if you're in a partnership. And so, obviously, me being single my whole life, I'm 27, has definitely been difficult, especially in Australia where settling down is considered pretty much the natural way of doing your 20s. And all my friends from back in my hometown have settled down for the most part anyway. There's about, I would say 99% of them have. And they're all in long term relationships or engaged or married, about to have kids, I'm sure. All of it is kind of wrapped up in this settled down nature, which I love for them because that's what they've wanted. But for me, I never wanted that. And I was always in this weird spot, especially in my early 20s, where I was like, I think naturally I should have a boyfriend. But every person, every man that I came across, I was like, you're not for me at all. And I have dreams to move overseas. I have dreams to build my career and really grow in my own self. And I just don't feel like you can give me that, or I think you would hold me back from that. I always thought of relationships as a way to shackle me, which sounds terrible to say, but at the time, that's what I thought. And I had very much big commitment issues up until I was about 25. So for me, time I was like close to getting into a relationship, I feel like it was a blessing in disguise if the guy didn't want it, or um, if I didn't want it, because yeah, it would have stunted my growth by 1,000,000%. Every time I was seeing someone that I would see a future with, it would stunt the way I looked after myself, if that makes sense. I would basically become this girl who has this huge crush on this guy, and I would not really focus on myself, focus on my independence, focus on my own hobbies, focus on anything like that. I would basically um, let my world revolve around his hobbies and stuff like that. And I did that really subconsciously. I noticed it though every time I did it, and I didn't know how to break out of it. So I didn't trust my own self that if I got into a relationship, I wouldn't just drop everything, which scared me because in reality, I am quite independent and I do have very much my own dreams, hobbies, whatever, that I don't like to compromise on. But it feels like that when I was younger, especially if I ever was looking at taking it further with a guy, it would really compromise that for some reason. So that scared me a lot. That was like, oh no, I'm going to lose everything that I know about myself to fit into his lifestyle, which is not something that I wanted to do. And I felt like subconsciously I was doing that. So As a young girl, I was like, nah, that's not for me. So I had these massive commitment issues. Of course, there were other factors that influenced this as well, but that was my major factor, and it was something that I really thought about a lot, and I was like, okay, what am I looking for with a man? But that was the wrong way to look at it, because I was loving my single life. And so the reason I wanted to do this episode is because I wanted it as a reassurance for anyone that's in this sort of boat, same as me, in the same, on the same ship, that single life is such a vibe. I wouldn't be who I am without having been single all my life. As in, I think if I had relationships when I was younger, I wouldn't be as switched on about who I am as I am now, just based on that. So anyway, I'm just going to get started, but I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an anecdotal kind of story that I have been single for a very long time, but it's not a sad state to be in at all. If anything, I'm very much happy in my own world, and once I find a man that suits me and that will make my life better, I will definitely consider it. But if they can't provide me anything that I could already provide myself, there's genuinely no point. It's meant to be a partnership, a team effort, and the partnerships that I see with my friends is complementary, and the partnerships that I see that don't end up working out are the ones that are not complementary. They're just there because they enjoy their company and they have a sexual attraction. But I think there's the third element, which is, can they make your life better? Like, do they make you a better person? And if you don't have that kind of ticked off, I just don't see the point of it. Of course, in saying that, I'm thinking of it in my 27-year-old mindset. I'm sure if you were 21, it's probably like, if it's fun and there's sexual attraction, go for your life. So the first one is the freedom to be fully yourself. One of the biggest perks of being single is that you get to be 100% yourself all the time. You don't have to shrink parts of your personality to fit into someone's life. You can be weird, ambitious, chaotic, or introverted as much as you want. You don't need to check in before you make big decisions about your life. So, like, of course, a good example would be that I moved to London from Australia, and the only person I had to consult was myself, because I had no roots that kept me secure in Australia. I was like, no, I can just do whatever I want. And the freedom of that is amazing. Like, the choices you can make are unreal, and I don't think people appreciate it as much as they should. For instance, even changing careers or taking a last minute solo trip, you just do it. This is just something where, like, for me, I felt like I could be the weirdest part of myself, especially when I was younger. I feel like a lot of women, and I'm going at it from a heterosexual point of view just because that's what I know, women would shrink, and I was just saying that before, but shrink parts of themselves, or think, oh, I can't be, that weird because, my partner thinks it's weird that I read smart books or something. Like, that's terrible example, but you know what I mean. And it's really sad, because I think that, when you're younger, you really don't know yourself. So you kind of do adapt to your surrounding environment and the people that you interact with. And a lot of the time, you're not mature enough to realize that you need to stand your ground and, like, just be your true authentic self. And I feel like a lot of people will get in these relationships where years down the track, they'll be like, oh, actually, I haven't been acting like myself at all. I actually love doing this, and I've just stopped doing it because I thought it was embarrassing, or because my partner hates when I do this. And it's like, who cares? That's your own hobby to do. Do whatever you want, as long as this doesn't hurt anyone. People who are always gunning for relationships don't realize is that there is something so freeing about being single. Two, being selfish. I don't think selfish is necessarily a negative term. I think that the actual word itself is quite neutral. You can prioritize yourself guilt-free. For me, for instance, being single means your energy is yours. You don't have to balance someone else's emotions, schedules, or life plans. You can put yourself first without feeling guilty about it. You can be like, cool, like I'm going to do this, and this today. Everything is yours. And again, it makes you feel quite powerful in what you hold to your own self. You can focus on your own personal goals, learning a new skill, working on your career, fitness, anything you want to do, you can just do it without having to be like, okay, well, what's so and so doing? Do I need to think about da 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 da? I love that I can pour into myself. And it's not about being anti relationships, it's about recognizing that this phase of life is a chance to be fully invested in yourself. And your 20s is about being selfish. It's about doing whatever you want, making mistakes and learning from them, and being chaotic and messy. And there's people are too scared to kind of do whatever they want. They feel like there's this like certain rule book they need to follow, and it's just weird because I'm like, I don't know where these rules are coming from for you, but you don't need to follow them. No one's got a gun to your head saying you need to follow these rules that you've made up in your own head that you think society want for you. No. Number three is basically a flow on from number two, which is that you don't need to attend events, social hangouts with your partner, as in like, you don't have to watch a cricket game if you hate cricket. You don't have to attend a family outing with his side of the family when you're hungover as fuck. You don't need to do all these sort of things that you're obligated to do as a partner because you're in a team, you're in a partnership. You're not obligated to do any of that. You can wake up hungover, you can cancel your plans, and you can just do whatever you want. There's actually no pressure for you to do anything beyond what you actually want to do. And I think that is something that I'm probably going to struggle with when I eventually get into a relationship down the track, is having that compromise, or knowing that your free time is subject to what he also needs you to do as the obligations of being in a partnership. Number four, dating on your own terms. Being single has been wild for me. I actually, I'm probably going to do a podcast episode on this because I think it was so beneficial to me to do this. But I actually, when I was younger, I really used to be scared of dating. I hated going on dates. I basically would like to talk to guys online and then I would never see them in person. And I would freak out if they asked me on a date, like genuinely freak out and get really stressed. And then what I did was in summary, gave myself a challenge to go on a first date every week for about 3 months, I believe. The idea was to go on as many first dates as possible and meet as many guys as possible, and to basically practice, because practice makes perfect. And I knew that the reason that I was so nervous was because I wasn't doing it enough. I wasn't exposing myself to it and realizing that it's actually not as scary as it may seem. But I completely empathize with any women out there that freak out before a first date. It's so nerve-wracking and it's such an awkward little thing to do. But nowadays, I feel like it's the funnest little hobby that I love to do. And I have been on many, many, many first dates. And I think, no pressure to settle down. I just kind of go on these first dates, learn something from them, see how the vibe is, see how the communication is, if I enjoy their company, if I think they're attractive, because I think that's a very much base foundation. I don't know why people go on dates with people that they don't find attractive. I think that's weird. And you can just explore and figure out what you want. Like, I feel like now I know exactly what I want. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't gone on as many dates as I did. There's a reason why I've gone on many dates. It's because I'm quite a curious person. It's just about boosting confidence, boosting your ability to showcase yourself, your ability to communicate and make dates fun rather than an interview. If you don't know them, you have no pressure to act a certain way because you can just go, like, okay, well, I'm not interested. I'm going to leave the date and then message them saying thanks, but no thanks, and never see them again. So, you know what? You only really live once on this planet. So I think the best way forward is to do those sort of things. And I set standards for myself that are not too stringent, of course, but there is certain elements that I'm looking for that I value in my own self, which I want to see reflected in them. So that's kind of what I go into looking for rather than I am looking for a relationship. I think that makes you feel very much pressure. And it's not even external pressure, it's really internal pressure to make sure that they fit into your criteria. It's a lot like the movie Ugly Truth. If you know, you know. I don't think she should have settled down with Mike. He was a loser. Nevertheless, it's more about learning what you want and pushing that out into the abyss and seeing what energy flows back to you. When you're single, you get to approach relationships from a place of want rather than need. And that's a game changer. Number 5, platonic relationships are your savior. I've noticed that when people get into relationships, sometimes their friendships take a bit of a backseat. Especially when you have your girlfriends and you're all single, and then one of them gets into a relationship and they're kind of spending all their time that they usually spend with you and your friends, they spend now with their partner. It's kind of a natural occurrence. I don't think there's really necessarily anything wrong with it because it does make sense. You do spend a lot of time with your partner, especially in the beginning, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's really sad for your friends. Your friends miss you. Your friends used to see you every 2 days, every weekend. And now it's kind of like, oh, once a month when Joe is out of town. Like, it is really sad. And um, I do think from both sides there should be, a level of compromise for sure, but I do think sometimes the people that are in relationships do kind of forget about their friends. A bit of advice to give, but I think it's making sure that you communicate with your friends that have got into relationships, that you still want to see them, that it's not about just their partner, and that your friendship matters also to them as well. So having that sort of communication, I think, is number 1 key. Number 2 is making sure in your 20s that you have single friends. If all your friends are in relationships, it is not a great idea to remain in just that friendship group. You will find yourself very lost, very confused, and then feel this weird pressure that is coming honestly from no one, but it's the pressure of like the sheep effect, really, isn't it? It's you wanting to go, well, no one really wants to go out anymore because they've all got their partners, and I'm the only one that wants to find someone. The dating apps suck ass. Like, what do I do? So a lot of people will then feel like this weird pressure, and then they'll just go, oh, I'll settle down with the next man that enters my life, and usually they're a fucking loser. You don't want to do that. I have felt that way before, especially in my hometown, and it's no one's fault but just the mentality of like kind of following the crowd, I guess, and having that FOMO. um so when I moved to London, you feel like you can kind of get away with finding single friends quite easily in London, which I really appreciated. And I did feel a weight off my shoulders as soon as I moved here. But again, that is something that is coming from your own projections, that pressure. And you really need to look inside yourself to think, where is that pressure coming from? Is it just that mentality of like following the crowd? I love being in London because the friendships I have here, everyone is pretty much single. And that means that the nights out are amazing. Like, quite literally, so fun. So, 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 so fun. And I wouldn't have this experience if I stayed in Australia. So I think it reinforces the concept that you should be in an environment that serves to better you, and it serves to make this current chapter of your life as fun as possible. So if you're in an area or in your hometown and you're finding yourself very much lost and confused and, you know, having this weird pressure, then I think that's something you really need to consider is like, am I in the right place that serves me for where I am in my life right now? And the answer is probably no. Second element is that your friendships just become so strong. It's amazing. As you get older, your friendships get so much more personal and deep and close. And if anyone's read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, that is basically a Bible for your 20s. It's a beautiful, beautiful book about how your friendships shape who you are, and focusing on them, they will give you everything you need and more, probably more than a romantic relationship would, especially in your 20s. Um, which I think people kind of underestimate platonic relationships for sure. Peace. This is number 6. Peace and emotional stability. Let's be real. Relationships are beautiful, but they can also be so emotional. There's ups and downs, miscommunication. It's very much emotional labor. And being single comes with a certain kind of peace and quiet that I feel like people don't appreciate. There's fuck all arguments. Okay, specifically in my life, there's fuck all arguments. I don't get stress from relationships. What I would imagine is when you're on a night out and you see your friend and they're fighting with their partner and it ruins their whole night. You don't get that. You don't. You're having the time of your life. You're at the pub, you're at the club, whatever. You're dancing with your friends. You see a hottie, you get his number, you go home with him that night. It's just easy. It's just fun. You don't have this weird, like, you don't have this condition that for you to enjoy your life, you need to make sure that your partner's also enjoying their life. Number 7, not knowing the future. Now, that might sound really scary to a lot of people, and I completely get that. But there is this amazing feeling that anything could happen in your future. It's completely open. You know, I don't know who I'll meet, where I'll end up, what life will look like in 5 years. And that's exciting. You're in your 20s. There is no rush. There is actually no rush to settle down or to force a plan or force a relationship where, like, you know, you'll settle down with this guy that you don't really get along with, but like, you know, you want to have a relationship because everyone else is having a relationship, and then 5 years down the track you've wasted your youth, which you'll never get back your 20s. You will never get back your 20s. So wasting your youth on a loser, and then at the end they're like, yeah, I actually don't want kids, and you're like, what the actual fuck have I been doing with you this whole time? um and then usually after that, people go on benders and go crazy. And I'm like, I mean, I love that you're doing it now, but I'm like, if you didn't feel that pressure to settle down with any old man, you might have had 5 more years under your belt and then felt even more independent and more ready to take on next step of your life with maybe a better man. Something to consider. Sometimes people make it seem like being single is a pause before real life starts, but honestly, it's just life. It's right now. You never know what's going to happen, but if you look after yourself and you look after all your friends around you and you make sure that you enjoy your life as much as possible and focus on things that make your life fun and make your life amazing and fulfilled and gratifying, then it'll be a natural course that your life will manifest something very exciting for you. And I'm sure that in that, a relationship will find its way to you. You have so many years in your life. And you know what? It's just speaking on the open future, it's the idea that you haven't even met maybe your person. That is really exciting because that means that you have all this like different ways you can meet someone, all these different people that you can meet. I feel like every date I've gone on, I've low-key taken a cool fact from their life or whatever and used it in a new conversation with other people in my life. And it's made me a bit more well-rounded as a person because I'm just basically recycling what they've told me. There is just so many people that I've gone on dates with, And it just gives me more information and more knowledge about the world that I learn from what their lifestyle is like. And I just use it. I just repurpose that shit because why not? It's so interesting to learn about other people. Anyway, sorry, I went a bit on a tangent there. But anyway, the next one that I love about being single is no compromising on decor. I don't know why, like taking control over your own space is just something that I feel like as you get older, you start to appreciate more. Like, of course, people start realizing that, they have more income to kind of live by themselves and therefore have control over their decor and how their flats are presented, etc. But there is something so good about having your own space, your own way of uh, decor and decorations without your partner's stuff floating around everywhere and kind of ruining the aesthetics. This is just something very much superficial, but I do think it does count towards something. The second last one, it's eating, sleeping, and living however you want. And I know that is something that I've already touched on, but I wanted to say, and I know this is going to be a funky one, but not having to consider someone else's preferences for food, especially men, for some reason, a lot of them don't really have an acquired taste or an acquired palate. I know so many men that A, don't know how to cook, or B, just don't eat anything that sounds unusual to them. Oh, it's a massive ick. Oh my God. No, 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 no. I could not. I think it's just great that you can eat whatever you want. You can have sushi 3 nights in a row if you wanted. You can um, cook a lunch and dinner combined if you wanted to and just eat it at 4 p.m. and then have ice cream for dessert. Like, why not? And while we're on the topic, why is it that most men don't know how to cook? I feel like I take it for granted that you can learn it, but it really is something easy to learn. And what pisses me off is that a lot of the time you meet these guys and they'll be your age and they'll be like, yeah, I cook. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can cook a good steak. Everyone can cook a good steak. Are you okay? Put the heat up. Put a fucking slice of butter in there, some rosemary, and watch Gordon Ramsay fucking cook a steak in like 5 minutes. I'm sorry. It takes the skill set of a fucking monkey to cook a steak. And what they'll do is they, well, I can cook a really good steak. Or I could cook a spaghetti bolognese. Okay. Like the two most basic fucking meals. Are you okay? Ugh. Anyway, and then like for instance, this one guy I met, he was like, yeah, I'm actually still he was actually a platinum member on Uber Eats because he ordered Uber Eats so often. I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, are you Brendan Favola? Why the fuck are you ordering so much Uber Eats? How hard is it to learn how to cook? I don't know. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. God forbid they don't eat garlic and onion. Oh my God, that's my worst nightmare. If I found a partner that was perfect in every way, we got along so well, but they didn't eat onion and garlic, I truly would have to sit down, meditate, go on a long, long walk, and really consider if they were right for me because I love onion and garlic so much. I really would have to consider whether they were worth that were worth removing those two things from my diet, and the answer is probably not. Probably not. I'd hope that the universe would find someone right for me that doesn't have those food limitations. But anyway, and then the last one is that you're always hottest when you're single. And this is obviously conditional on the fact that you're in a shitty relationship. So when you get out of it, you glow up. But there is a thing, like there is that trend of, getting out of a relationship and then suddenly you glow up and you're so much hotter. There's a reason for that. It's because you don't have this like negative energy around you and you're just kind of pushing off an aura that is just like fun, vibrant, single, ready to do whatever they want. Why wouldn't you want to be single than with a loser boyfriend who makes you anxious, makes you depressed. This one's obviously focusing on people that are in terrible relationships. Please get out now. So yeah, there are plenty of reasons to love being single. And it's not about hating relationships. I don't think relationships are at all negative. You can grow a lot in a relationship for sure. But I do think that recognizing um, a single season of life has its own unique perks and opportunities. And especially in your 20s, I just feel like people really underestimate how fun it can be and how exciting being single is. They just feel like it's a limbo state, and I don't really get it. But anyway, if you're single right now, I hope you do embrace it. I hope you do things that you love. I hope you invest in yourself and enjoy the freedom that comes with it. And if you ever feel like society is pressuring you to be in a relationship just for the sake of it, remember that you are surrounding yourself in the wrong environment, and these are pressures that you don't need to follow. It's just a mentality that comes with a lot of people doing one thing and you feeling like you have to blend in. It's not like that at all. And I think that being single is really exciting and very fun. And if anyone makes you feel like being single is embarrassing or shameful, then they're not a very good person. And I think they're stupid. Thanks for listening. I hope that it was a bit insightful for those that are single or recently single or in the same boat as me, being single for 27 years. Woo! Very exciting milestone. I also wanted to reiterate that everyone that is single should read the book Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. Again, incredible. If you are in a relationship that you want to get out of, I think you should read Good Material, which is a book about a breakup from the man's perspective, but there's very much insightful perspectives from both the male and the female in the relationship that is just really important. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this engaging. And if you have any questions, please comment or message me on Instagram. My Instagram is Life Off Script Pod. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, and Pocket Casts, and Amazon Music. But I don't think anyone really uses Amazon Music. I mean, it's kind of shit. But anyway, it's on there too. All right. Thanks so much for listening.